Okay, so if you're an early stage founder, you know the struggle, right? You desperately need funding, but your product, well, it's still a work in progress. So how in the world do you get an investor to write that check? The answer might surprise you.
Yeah, this quote really hits the nail on the head. We get so fixated on funding as the prize, but it's not. Funding is the result of something much more important: trust. Especially when you're just starting out, trust is everything. I mean, without it, even a world changing idea is dead in the water.
That's so true. Think about it. When you don't have years of data or a polished product, what's an investor really betting on? They're betting on you. And they're looking for these tiny but super powerful signals that tell them, okay, this founder, this founder gets it. And that's what this explainer is all about, helping you send all the right signals right from day one.
So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through 5 key areas. First, how to build trust before the pitch. Then, what your company's structure is secretly telling investors. After that, why being clear is way better than just being confident. We'll also cover building a real, defensible moat. And finally, we'll talk about why execution is the only proof that really counts. All right, let's dive into our first section: trust before the pitch. A lot of founders think the big test starts the second they walk into that pitch meeting. But here's the thing: it doesn't. The clock started way before that. Investors are sizing you up from your very first email, from what they see on your LinkedIn, even from how you've legally structured your company. And this is such a key point. It's not about being perfect. Nobody expects that. But they absolutely expect precision. If your story is fuzzy, if you're using a ton of buzzwords, or if it looks like you've cut corners on the basics, poof, trust just vanishes. You have to remember, every little detail sends a signal about how you're going to treat their money. Okay, moving on to our second pillar, your structure sends signals. And oh boy, is this a big one. There is probably no document that screams more about your judgment as a founder than your cap table. Seriously, it's like a window straight into your brain. I absolutely love this quote. A clean cap table is like a clean room. It's just perfect. An investor wants to look at your cap table and see something organized and thoughtful. It makes them feel like you respect them. The last thing they want to do is come in and have to clean up a huge mess you've already made. So you can really see the two different worlds here, right? On the left, you've got the messy cap table. This is the one with, a dozen different safes with weird terms, equity promised on a handshake to a cousin's friend. It's just a disaster. It screams, I'm only thinking about tomorrow. And it's a nightmare for future funding. Now look at the right, a clean cap table. It just feels different. It's thoughtful. It shows you've protected enough equity to hire amazing people down the road. It basically says, I'm a serious founder and I'm building a real long-term business. All right, pillar number 3 is a big one, and it's all about how you talk. We're calling it clarity over confidence. It's so easy to fall into the trap of trying to sound super smart, using all the latest jargon and complex terms to impress investors. But trust me, that almost never works. Here's the secret. Investors don't want to be impressed. They just want to understand. The quicker you can get them to get what you're doing and why it's important, the more they'll trust you. When you can explain a really complex idea in simple terms, it's a huge signal. It shows you're not hiding, and it proves you actually know your stuff inside and out. Okay, now for the question every founder dreads. What happens when you get asked something and you just don't know the answer? It's going to happen. It's that moment of truth in a pitch. But here's the crazy part. How you handle this one moment can actually build more trust than a dozen perfect rehearsed answers. So here's the 3-step playbook. It's super simple. First, just own it. Acknowledge you don't know. Something like, that's a great question, and we don't have a solid answer on that just yet. Whatever you do, don't bluff. Step 2, explain how you're going to find out. But here's the test we're running next Tuesday to get that exact data. This shows you're thinking, not just guessing. And finally, step 3, show them the path forward. This turns a moment of weakness into proof that you're a founder who can learn and figure things out. And that is exactly who an investor wants to bet on. Okay, on to pillar number 4, building a defensible moat. Look, we all know ideas are a dime a dozen. The second you build something that works, you can bet someone else is going to try to copy it. So investors have one burning question. What makes you different? What's going to stop a bigger company from crushing you? What makes your business stick? And that's really all defensibility is. It's your long-term competitive edge. It's the secret sauce that keeps a giant competitor from just throwing money at the problem and doing the exact same thing you're doing. For an investor, seeing a real moat is a massive anchor of trust.
And a moat can take a lot of different forms. It's not always about having a patent. As you can see here, it could be that you have exclusive access to a special data set nobody else can get. Or maybe you've had a truly unique technical breakthrough. It could even be a new process that's way more efficient. But let's be real. For anyone in deep tech, AI, or robotics, that last one, intellectual property, is a huge flashing sign that you're building something real.
And you don't even need a full expensive patent right away. Just filing what's called a provisional patent can be a game changer. It's basically a low-cost way to plant your flag in the ground and say, we invented this first. It instantly changes the conversation from, hey, I have an idea, to, hey, I'm building a tangible, valuable asset. It just screams that you're serious.
And that brings us to the fifth, and honestly, the most important pillar of them all. Execution is the proof. Because at the end of the day, you can have a great deck, a clean cap table, and a perfect pitch. But talk is cheap. Trust is ultimately built by what you do. Your actions are the only proof that really matters.
And I think this is a really smart way to think about it. We all hear move fast and break things, but there are two kinds of speed. On the left, you have what's basically just noise. It's frantic activity, pivoting every other week, chasing every new idea. That doesn't look like progress, it looks like desperation. But on the right, you have disciplined speed. That's being laser-focused on one thing, methodically testing your assumptions and making smart, informed decisions. That signals real purpose.
Because here's the thing, trust isn't something you earn once and then you're done. It's something you have to reinforce over and over again. It's in the small things, like sending that follow-up email exactly when you said you would. It's in sending a monthly update to an investor who passed on you, just to show your progress. That kind of consistency is powerful. It shows you're a founder who actually delivers, not just someone who's good at pitching.
So let's just quickly wrap up the key takeaways here. Remember this toolkit. Start building trust before you even get in the room with a clean structure. Choose clarity over confidence every time. Build a real moat like IP and protect it. Use those tough I don't know moments to build trust, not break it. And finally, show your worth through disciplined execution, not just frantic speed.
And really, this is what it all comes down to. We started off talking about how to get funded, but it's about so much more than that. Trust is the bedrock. It's what lets you convince amazing people to join your team. It's what gets you through the inevitable hard times. Trust is what lets you build something that actually lasts.
So, I'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Every single decision you make as a founder, every email you send, every choice, it's all an answer to this question. Are you building for a quick flash in the pan? Or are you building for trust? The choice, as they say, is yours.